Ever notice how life starts to feel like a fucked up loop? You wake up with that weight in your chest. You feel the urgency. You know what needs to get done, but you don't do it. And then comes the void, the guilt, the comparison to everyone else who seems to be crushing life in 4K fast forward while you're buffering in silence. You're not stupid. You're not lazy. You're stuck. And the world treats you like you're some kind of factory defect. But what if procrastination isn't about time management? What if it's about fear, about trauma? Or maybe, just maybe, it's your body going on silent strike because it literally can't keep pretending everything's fine anymore. This video isn't a pat on the back. It's a slap in the face, the kind that wakes you the fuck up, because at the very least, you deserve the truth.
Let's get something straight. Telling someone to just start when they're drowning isn't motivational. It's fucking cruel. We live in a culture where effort is currency, where waking up at 5 a.m. and drinking spinach juice is seen as moral superiority, where if you're struggling, the answer is always the same. Try harder, move faster, stop complaining, get your shit together. But what if you already have tried? What if you've been white-knuckling your way through life for so long that your hands are bleeding and no one's noticed? See, that's the part no one talks about. How effort in this society isn't just expected, it's demanded. Not effort rooted in healing or intention or sustainability, but effort for the sake of output, of performance, of looking like you're functioning even when your soul is on fucking fire. Because if you're not producing, you're failing, right? That's the American formula. Burn out quietly, smile on camera, keep showing up. Make it to the meeting, hit the deadline, reply to the email, pretend. And when you can't anymore, when the weight of it crushes you and your body starts saying no, that's when they slap you with a label. Lazy, unmotivated, entitled. No one stops to ask why you're stuck. They just assume the worst version of you is the real you. Let me tell you something. There is nothing lazier than a system that expects you to function while you're falling apart. You want to know where procrastination starts? It doesn't start with distraction. It starts with pressure, overwhelm, shame. Imagine waking up every day in a house that's slowly flooding. And every morning someone hands you a mop and says, you just need to be more disciplined. But the water's coming from the fucking ceiling. You don't need a mop, you need someone to help fix the roof. But here in America, we hand out mops like candy and tell people they just aren't trying hard enough. So you start internalizing it. You start believing that your inability to start is proof that you're broken. And that belief, it grows. It festers until even the thought of doing something triggers panic, because now it's not just about completing a task, it's about proving your worth. You start procrastinating not because you're lazy, but because every task becomes a fucking emotional landmine. Writing an email feels like stepping into judgment. Doing your taxes feels like feeling your father all over again. Cleaning your room feels like proof that you're still a mess, just like your mother used to say. This isn't about task management. This is about trauma. This is about nervous systems that were never given time to rest, and now, when faced with one more expectation, they shut the fuck down. And still, people will look at you and say, you just need to push through, as if willpower was the missing ingredient, as if surviving in this world wasn't already a full-time job. Let me paint it for you. You're 34, you work a corporate job that drains you, your manager speaks in productivity metrics and smiles like a shark, your inbox is a war zone, your body aches but your health insurance barely covers therapy, your family calls to ask why you haven't visited, you open Instagram and see someone thriving at 6 a.m. in matching athleisure. And then your brain is like, cool, let's work on that big-ass presentation now. No fucking wonder you freeze. This isn't dysfunction. It's exhaustion wearing your skin. And what makes it worse? The silence. The isolation. Because nobody talks about this part. The part where you know exactly what needs to be done, but it feels like trying to run underwater. The part where guilt becomes the soundtrack of your day. Where every hour that passes without progress tightens the noose around your self-worth. But here's the truth they won't say in those self-help books. Procrastination isn't the enemy. It's the red flag. It's the check engine light of your nervous system. And if you ignore it long enough, your body will take over. Panic attacks, insomnia, shame spirals that end in crying on the fucking bathroom floor. And still, the world will tell you to try harder. So here's what I want you to hear. Maybe for the first time in your life. You're not weak. You're not defective. You're not failing. You're responding to a life that's demanded too much for too long and given you too little space to breathe. And until we start treating procrastination not as a flaw, but as a signal, we're just going to keep handing people mops while the ceiling collapses.
Let's talk about what's actually happening when you procrastinate. Because it's not about laziness, and it sure as hell isn't about time management. It's about fear. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of confirming every shitty belief you've internalized about yourself. You're not putting off the email because it's hard to type. You're putting it off because deep down, you're scared it'll go unread. Or worse, read and ignored. You're not avoiding the resume update because you're unmotivated. You're avoiding the possibility of rejection, of confirmation that you're not good enough, of looking your potential in the face and realizing you don't believe in it anymore. That's the real shit no one wants to say out loud. Procrastination isn't resistance to doing. It's resistance to feeling. And fuck, we've been feeling too much for too long. That's the cost of surviving in a world that never gave you time to process, just deadlines. You learned early on that achievement equals safety. Maybe your parents only paid attention when you brought home good grades. Maybe they only gave affection when you were useful. So now, finishing a project doesn't feel like progress. It feels like pressure. You're not working toward a goal. You're trying to earn oxygen. And every time you sit down to just start, your brain scans for threat. Because the task isn't neutral. It's loaded with expectation and shame and memory. You procrastinate because you care too much, not too little. You care what it says about you. You care what it might reveal. You care what might fucking collapse inside you if you try your hardest and still fall short. And what happens when you care that much? You freeze. Because failing when you've half-assed it, that's survivable. You can say, I didn't really try. But failing when you gave everything? That's annihilation. So you wait. You wait until the pressure is unbearable, until adrenaline kicks in and you enter survival mode. Then, and only then, do you move. Not because you've finally found motivation, but because fear has finally outweighed paralysis. This is what people don't get. Procrastination isn't about bad habits. It's about survival math. It's your brain calculating pain in real time, choosing the version that hurts later over the one that hurts now. And still, you blame yourself. You shame yourself. You internalize every fucking rise and grind meme like it's gospel while your nervous system is in full lockdown. Why? Because this culture, especially in America, romanticizes burnout. It wraps trauma in productivity quotes. It turns mental illness into quirky content. You're allowed to be anxious, but only if it's funny. You're allowed to be depressed, but only if you're still productive. You think procrastination is your fault. It's not. It's a symptom of a deeper system, One that taught you your worth is conditional on what you do, how fast you do it, how well you pretend it's not killing you. And don't get me started on the inner critic, that sadistic little voice that shows up every time you open your laptop, the one that says, "You're behind, you're wasting your life, everyone else is doing better than you." That voice isn't your intuition, it's programming. Years of being measured, graded, compared, humiliated, all coded into a voice you now mistake for truth. And maybe that's the most fucked up part. You start believing that procrastination means you don't care, that you're undisciplined, that you're a fraud. When in reality, it means you've been carrying too much. It means your body is finally saying no in a language you can't ignore anymore. So let me say this, in case no one ever has. You're not procrastinating because you're lazy. You're procrastinating because you're terrified that no matter what you do, it won't be enough. Because somewhere along the line, enough stopped being possible. You're avoiding the task because the task has become a mirror, and you're not ready to see your own exhaustion reflected back at you. The American dream says if you just work harder, everything will be okay. But here's the truth. Sometimes procrastination is the most honest thing your body can do. It's not defiance. It's grief. It's fear. It's protection. So maybe the question isn't, why do I keep putting things off? Maybe the question is, what am I afraid will happen if I finally show up fully and still don't feel whole? If that hit you, good. Not because I want you to hurt, but because you deserve to fucking see the patterns before they destroy you from the inside out. You can't optimize your way out of trauma. You can't productivity hack your way out of emotional paralysis. But you can start to understand it, name it, and maybe, just maybe, stop hating yourself for it.
Let's be fucking honest. The productivity industry doesn't want you healed. It wants you hungry, restless, insecure enough to keep buying solutions for a problem that was never your fault in the first place. You procrastinate, and what do they sell you? A planner, a new app, a minimalist workspace setup on TikTok that costs $600 and promises clarity, an online course from a dude in a hoodie who wakes up at 4:30 a.m. and calls it discipline. And the worst part? You buy it. Not because you're dumb, but because you're desperate. Because you've been taught that your value comes from output. And if you're not producing, you better be fixing yourself. Fixing. Always fixing. No one stops to ask, why the fuck are we all so broken? You think it's just you. You think you're the only one falling behind. But look closer. Everyone's anxious. Everyone's exhausted. Everyone's pretending to be okay while quietly falling apart behind locked bathroom doors and fake Zoom smiles. This is by design. Capitalism thrives on your shame, on your need to prove, to hustle, to earn your right to rest. You don't get a break unless you've bled for it. You don't get to pause unless you've been productive first. And God forbid you do nothing, then you're a failure, a waste, a fucking parasite. That's how the machine sees you, not as a person, but as a resource. Your mental health? A branding opportunity. Your burnout? A badge of honor, as long as you keep showing up. You ever notice how companies slap self-care stickers on everything while overworking their employees into the ground? They'll give you free kombucha and yoga class access, but ignore your emails about understaffing and toxic managers. You're not supposed to heal. You're supposed to cope just enough to keep showing up. And when you can't, they tell you it's mindset. Your mindset is broken. You need to shift your energy. You need to visualize success. You need to speak it into existence. No, motherfucker, I need a livable wage. I need affordable therapy. I need a fucking day off without guilt eating me alive. This positivity-only bullshit is just emotional censorship. It's a way to silence pain that makes people uncomfortable. If you're not smiling, you're a problem. If you're tired, you're negative. If you're struggling, you're weak.
So you learn to fake it. You post quotes on Instagram about resilience. You journal about gratitude, even though you feel like screaming. You join productivity discords, you download 12 different habit trackers, and still, you're fucking stuck. Because none of that shit addresses the root. You don't procrastinate because you need more tools. You procrastinate because no one ever taught you how to feel safe in your own nervous system. But the industry can't sell you that. Safety isn't scalable. Slowness doesn't make anyone rich. Stillness isn't sexy on camera. So they sell you speed, hustle, performance. And when you crash, they sell you the cure. It's an emotional Ponzi scheme, and most of us are in too deep to even see it. The worst part? We start turning on ourselves. We internalize the failure. We believe that if the system isn't working for us, then we must be broken. You say shit like, "I'm just not disciplined. I need to stop being lazy. I'll be better next week." But what if the system was never designed for someone with trauma? What if it was never designed for people with mental illness, neurodivergence, chronic pain, grief, single parenting, working 3 jobs, surviving racism, homophobia, or abuse? What if it was never designed for you? Because that's the truth. It wasn't. The system was built for one kind of person, well-resourced, well-rested, neurotypical, and emotionally unscarred. Everyone else? You're on your own. But here's the twist. Even they're burning out, because no one wins in a machine that eats people. So if you've been wondering why all the hacks and books and courses still leave you feeling empty, it's because you don't need a productivity strategy. You need a fucking revolution, inside and out. You need to stop blaming yourself for a struggle that was never yours alone. You need to stop swallowing shame for not thriving in a system built to exploit you. You need to feel what this culture tells you to numb. And you need to remember, you are not a project. You are a person. Procrastination isn't your failure. It's your body's protest. It's your soul saying, "I refuse to keep performing wellness while I'm bleeding inside." So if the planners aren't working, if the apps feel hollow, if the deadlines feel like death sentences, it's not that you're broken, it's that you're finally fucking awake. And yeah, that hurts, but it's also the beginning of something real.
So here's the part where we stop fucking spiraling. Not because we fixed anything, not because there's some neat little conclusion, but because sometimes what you need isn't another answer, it's a pause. Let's just say it out loud. You're tired. Not, "I need a nap" tired, not "long day at work" tired. We're talking deep in the bone, soul rotted, "I can't keep doing this" kind of tired. And guess what? That kind of exhaustion doesn't go away with a productivity hack. It doesn't disappear because you made a checklist. It doesn't fucking shift because someone told you to just think positive. You're tired because you've been holding up your entire life with one hand while using the other to pretend everything's fine. And that's not weakness, that's survival. We live in a world that celebrates resilience, but only if it looks good, only if it fits into an Instagram carousel, only if it makes other people comfortable. You want the truth? Real resilience looks like crying in your car and still picking up your kid from school. It looks like staring at the screen for 2 hours before writing one sentence. It looks like not answering the phone because you literally cannot handle one more conversation. And none of that makes you a failure. It makes you fucking human. This idea that you have to earn rest, that you need to deserve a break, is one of the sickest lies capitalism ever sold us. You don't need to reach rock bottom to justify laying down. You don't need to be bleeding to ask for a bandage. You get to rest because you exist. You get to stop because you're enough, even when you're not achieving shit. The shame you carry for not doing enough, that's not yours. That was planted by teachers who only saw your grades, by parents who only praised you when you were useful,
by bosses who think burnout is a badge of honor, by a system that only values you when you're producing and forgets you when you're not. So what if just for a moment we stopped trying to fix ourselves and just started listening? What if the part of you that freezes up before every task isn't broken, but begging for compassion? What if procrastination is the language of someone who's never felt safe enough to fail? And what if, instead of calling that part lazy, you looked at it and said, I see you. I know you're scared. I'm not mad at you anymore. You don't have to perform discipline to be worthy. You don't have to crush your goals to deserve peace. You don't have to heal fast or look good doing it. Let's burn that shit down right now. Because the only thing more exhausting than struggling is pretending you're not. You want to know what healing really looks like? It looks like relearning how to rest without guilt. It looks like letting tasks stay unfinished without spiraling. It looks like catching yourself mid-self-hate and choosing kindness instead, not because it's easy, but because it's the only thing that doesn't make you bleed harder. There's no prize for suffering silently, no trophy for emotional isolation, no medal for pretending to be fine. So if all you've done today is survive, that counts. That fucking counts. If all you managed was brushing your teeth, replying to one text, feeding yourself something that wasn't just caffeine, I'm proud of you. Not in a condescending way, not in a yay baby steps way, but in a real adult war zone in your brain kind of way. Because it takes guts to exist in a world like this, to feel this much and still choose to stay, to keep showing up even if showing up today just means watching this video and breathing. You're not behind. You're in repair. You're not failing. You're healing in ways the world doesn't reward, but your soul fucking feels. And yeah, it's gonna be messy and inconsistent, and sometimes you'll fall back into the hole, but you'll climb out faster next time because now you know what's happening. Now you've named it. That's the beginning. That's the shift. Not a miracle, not a cure, just a fuck you to the shame. So don't write another list today. Don't set 5 new goals. Just try this. Be on your own side for once. Talk to yourself like you would to a friend sobbing in your arms. Because that version of you, the one hiding behind the procrastination, they've been alone too long. It's time to come home. Not to productivity, not to perfection, but to you. So here we are. Maybe nothing got easier, maybe your to-do list is still untouched, maybe your brain still feels like static. That's okay, because this wasn't about fixing you. It was about finally fucking seeing you. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're exhausted. You're grieving. You're a human being in a world that treats burnout like a badge and emotions like inconvenience. But not here. Not in this space. Here, you don't have to pretend. If no one said it lately, I'm proud of you. For surviving. For staying. For even trying to understand yourself instead of punishing yourself. And if you know someone who's pretending to be okay, send this to them. Let them know they're not alone. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't pushing through, it's fucking pausing. Let that be enough for today.